In 1967, Cessna made one structural decision that changed the Cessna 210 completely. They removed the wing struts. The single-engine aircraft that had relied on external bracing since its first flight in 1957 became, overnight, a cantilever wing design, cleaner, faster, and aerodynamically in a different class than it had been. The modification improved cruise speed by approximately 10 knots at the same power setting. It raised the service ceiling. It reduced the parts count on the wing attach system. And it introduced a structural characteristic that would generate airworthiness directives for the next 5 decades. In this video, we are going to trace what that decision actually produced. The Cessna 210 first flew on January 19, 1957. It entered production in 1960. Cessna positioned it as their high-performance single engine, a retractable gear aircraft with more useful load and better cruise performance than anything else they were building in the single-engine category. The original Continental IO 470E produced 260 horsepower and pushed the 210 to a cruise speed of approximately 168 knots at 75% power. Maximum takeoff weight was 2,900 pounds. The airframe was a conventional strutted high-wing design, the same basic structural philosophy as the 172 and the 182, scaled upward and fitted with retractable gear. The strutted configuration was conservative. It was also aerodynamically inefficient. Wing struts generate drag, and in a high-performance single where cruise speed is the primary selling point, that drag has a direct cost in knots. From the original 210 through the 210F in 1966, Cessna iterated on interior appointments, landing gear systems, and engine output. The 210C in 1963 introduced the IO 520A, producing 285 horsepower, raising cruise speed to approximately 174 knots. But the fundamental aerodynamic architecture stayed the same. The 210G, delivered in 1967, ended that. The new cantilever wing was a full spar design with no external bracing. It was aerodynamically cleaner, structurally self-supporting, and produced a cruise speed improvement of approximately 10 knots over the 210F at equivalent power settings. In a segment where buyers compared knots on a spec sheet, 10 knots was a competitive argument. Combined with the IO 520A engine, rated at 285 horsepower, and a maximum takeoff weight that had grown to 3,300 pounds, the 210G was a meaningfully different aircraft from the one Cessna had been selling in 1960. The evolution continued steadily through the 1970s. The 210K in 1970 standardized a 6-seat cabin. Previously, the 6th seat had been an option, and that change brought the aircraft into direct competition with light twins for passenger capacity and for cruise performance. The 210L, produced from 1971 through 1977, and the most numerically common variant of the entire production run, refined the wing fuel system and introduced Cleveland disc brakes as standard. By the 210N in 1979, maximum takeoff weight had reached 3,800 pounds, and useful load on a reasonably equipped aircraft was approximately 1,500 pounds. The 210R, the last normally aspirated production model, ran through 1986. The turbocharged variants, the T210 series, ran in parallel with the normally aspirated line from the late 1960s onward. The T210N, produced from 1979 through the end of the production run, used the Continental TSYO 520R engine rated at 310 horsepower. Cruise speed at altitude reached approximately 196 knots at 20,000 feet. Service ceiling exceeded 27,000 feet. Range at long-range cruise with optional extended tanks approached 1,470 nautical miles. Those are numbers that sit in light twin territory, not conventional single-engine touring territory. The pressurized Centurion, the P210, arrived in 1978 and was a genuinely unusual aircraft for its category. It was a pressurized single-engine Piston with a cabin differential of 3.35 psi, maintaining a sea-level equivalent cabin altitude of approximately 9,000 feet at 20,000 feet cruise altitude. The P210 used the TSIO 520CE engine, producing 310 horsepower, and cruised at approximately 185 knots at 75% power. Maximum takeoff weight was 4,000 pounds. It was used extensively by fractional operators, air ambulance services, and owner pilots flying in mountainous terrain who needed altitude capability without the operating costs of a pressurized twin. The P-210 was produced until 1986. Total production was 941 aircraft. In 1986, the entire 210 production line stopped. The answer was not performance. The final 210R and T-210R were the fastest, most capable 210s Cessna had ever built. The answer was litigation. General aviation manufacturers across the United States were being sued over accidents in aircraft 10 years or older, and the legal costs of defending those claims made continued Piston production financially untenable for Cessna. They ceased all Piston single manufacturing in 1986. Cessna did not produce a Piston single again until 1996, when the General Aviation Revitalization Act introduced an 18-year statute of repose on aircraft liability claims, and the Cessna 172 and 182 returned. The 210 did not return. As of this recording, it has never returned, despite multiple announced restart studies and one acquisition of the type certificate for that purpose. The tools and the type certificate still exist. The demand, visible in the used aircraft market, demonstrably exists. Something in the certification cost calculus or the strategic priorities of Textron Aviation has prevented it from happening. So what actually made the Cessna 210 the aircraft pilots chose over twins? The numbers make the case. A 1979 Piper PA-34 Seneca III, the twin that occupied the same mission profile, cruised at approximately 168 to 173 knots at 75% power on two Continental TSIO 360EB engines, producing 220 horsepower each, 440 combined. Fuel burn at cruise was approximately 24 US gallons per hour. The T-210N in the same year cruised at 190 to 196 knots at altitude on 310 horsepower total. Fuel burn at cruise was approximately 14 to 16 US gallons per hour. The T-210 was faster on less fuel and one engine. Operating costs per flight hour, per time between overhauls, per annual inspection, all favored the 210. The trade was the redundancy of a second power plant. For a significant portion of the serious single-engine market, that trade was acceptable. Against the Beechcraft Bonanza V-35B, the comparison is closer. The V-35B cruised at approximately 174 to 178 knots on a 285 horsepower Continental IO-520B. Empty weight was approximately 1,985 pounds against the 210's approximately 2,100 pounds. The Bonanza was lighter and had a lower drag profile in straight and level cruise. The 210, however, offered genuine six-seat capacity with an aft entry door. The Bonanza's fifth and sixth occupants were a compromise, not a cabin. At altitude, the T-210 simply left the normally aspirated Bonanza behind. At altitude, the T-210 was in a different performance category. That gap is not a footnote. That gap was the product. The safety record of the Cessna 210 requires honest engagement. The cantilever wing that delivered the performance gains from the 210G onward also introduced a specific structural vulnerability. Spar cap fatigue and wing attach fitting corrosion on higher time airframes became a documented concern across the 1970s and the 1980s. A series of in-flight wing structural failures, several fatal, prompted escalating FAA scrutiny of the cantilever wing design. The pattern that emerged from NTSB investigations was consistent. Aircraft that had accumulated significant hours without proper inspection of internal structure were at greater risk, often because the required access was invasive enough to be deferred. Airworthiness. Directive number 98-10-03, addressing wing spar cap corrosion on higher time aircraft, established a repetitive inspection regime that demands partial structural disassembly and careful measurement of spar cap dimensions. These are not quick ramp checks. They take time, they require competent shops, and they cannot be skipped. Any buyer evaluating a higher time Cessna 210 must approach the wing structure and its airworthiness. Directive compliance history with systematic, unhurried attention. The landing gear system, a complex trailing link design, generated its own separate airworthiness directive history. Actuator failures and retraction mechanism wear produced documented gear-up landings across multiple decades of fleet operation. None of this disqualifies the type. A well-maintained Cessna 210 with a clean airworthiness directive compliance record is a capable, well-understood aircraft. But the Cessna 210 is not the machine for a buyer who wants to minimize maintenance engagement. It is the machine for a buyer who understands what they are managing. Over 9,200 Cessna 210s were built across 26 years of production, the largest production run of any high-performance retractable gear single Cessna ever manufactured. Today, the type remains active throughout the United States, Australia, and parts of South America, frequently fitted with engine upgrades to the Continental IO 550 family, or with aftermarket wing spar reinforcement kits that address the structural concerns in the original cantilever design. A well-maintained 210N or T21NN trades between $130,000 and $200,000 on the current used market. A P210 in comparable condition commands between $180,000 and $280,000. The demand is real. The aircraft is flying. The decision in 1967 to remove the wing struts produced the best single-engine aircraft Cessna ever put into production. It also produced 5 decades of structural airworthiness directives and a maintenance requirement that demands more from its owners than almost any other certified Piston single in the general aviation fleet. That is the full accounting. The 210 was worth the trade for the pilots who understood exactly what the trade was. If you found this video useful, hit the like button. It genuinely helps the channel. If you are not subscribed yet, we would be glad to have you. Turn on the notification bell and you will not miss the next one the moment it goes live. We will see you then.